this morning to celebrate Mexico Arms Day at Roman 13
I
legislation.
can't really hear you speak into the mic. Can you speak into the side a little bit?
Sponsored by the Mexico Food and Agriculture Policy Council, the Mexican Council of Governments, and the Land and Food and Agriculture Working Group. I'll be one of the MCs for the morning, and I want to introduce my co-MC who's going to help us get the day started. He is the 4-H and Natural Resource Agent with Mexico State, working in Bernalillo County. His name is John Garlish. So if you guys can just give him a round of applause.
Thank you, Rodrigo. I'd like to welcome everyone here today to celebrate local food, local farms in New Mexico. Our purpose today is to educate the public and the policymakers about the significance of the vibrant food and farming culture, significant to our rural economies here in New Mexico, providing employment opportunities on the farm, and direct, wholesale, and retail opportunities in food processing, distribution, and value-added business. At the same time, Mexicans benefit from a wide variety of food and fibers produced in the state. Our children have the opportunity to enjoy New Mexico-grown fresh fruits and vegetables in their school meals and snack programs, while tens and thousands of New Mexicans shop at farmers markets as well. At this time, I would like to introduce Deputy Secretary for the New Mexico Department of Agriculture, Anthony Parra.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. What an exciting opportunity. By a show of hands, who likes to eat? We all do. What a wonderful opportunity for agriculture in New Mexico. As our department travels the country and the world, for that matter, one of the efforts that we see everywhere is that people want to buy local. They want to buy fresh. They want to buy what's coming in their own areas. I ask for it all the time. It's an exciting opportunity. The Department of Agriculture is very pleased to be involved in these partnerships and support these partnerships. As I'm new to the Department of Agriculture just in the last 10 months, but as I learn about it and live with it, 20 years of partnership is ongoing. It's a great thing. We're proud to be part of it. I want to take a second look at organics conference that we have. Teaches production and opportunity so we can fulfill and aspire to be the best that we can in New Mexico. That's February 15th and 16th in Albuquerque at the Marriott Pyramid. Again, thanks for having me. Exciting deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary Parra. At this time, we'd like to introduce Senator Souls to come forward, please. And if you would, please speak into the mic.
Thank you, and I really appreciate being here. I'm a public school teacher, but I've been an elementary principal in the past. And I wanted to tell you a couple of interesting stories of when I was the principal at Garfield Elementary School in the Hatch School District. If you know Garfield Elementary School, it's about 10 miles north of Hatch, and it's a farming school. We had about 200 students, the vast majority of them, their parents work on the farms, own the farms, or deal in agriculture. And when I first became the principal there, as the students were going through their lunch meal, and I'm out there talking to them, and I noticed there was lots and lots of milk, either just being left in the carton or being poured back when we had a sip or two of it. And as an educator, I know if children are not well fed and have good nutrition, they don't learn as well. And so I'm always trying to think of solutions to this and realize that most of these are kids that are very used to spicy, hot Mexican food types of things. So I talked to one of the local farmers who I knew, Dickie Ogas, who's right in that same area, and talked to him about what we might do. And we came up with a neat solution. And I'm also kind of a research person, so I first monitored how much milk was not being consumed. And then we started offering jalapenos to the kids at lunch. Now you see where this is going. Immediately, as soon as we started doing that, first the kids ate more of their lunch because because it had that spice and flavor they were used to at home instead of the more bland type of school lunches that often we get now in schools. But more importantly, I actually documented a decrease in the wasted milk by half. We were increasing the green vegetables, the vitamins and everything that you get in the fresh chili, and we decreased the amount of wasted milk. The children were consuming substantially more milk, about twice as much. I thought that was great, so I started another program. I again talked to Mr. Ogas, who told me that he grows lots of farm produce of different kinds and has a roadside stand also, but he has lots of tomatoes and onions that may not be quite good enough where people are kind of sorting through those. I asked if I could have those. And he said, absolutely. So every day during the growing season, he would bring me sort of the discarded tomatoes that weren't quite shaped right, the onions, the chilies, things of that sort, and I brought my blender from home and I blended about a gallon of fresh salsa every day that the kids could pour all over their meals. It was wonderful. And so I just wanted to relate a personal story about locally grown foods and how we, through some very simple, easy things in a school, were able to increase the nutrition, increase the milk, increase the learning ability of the kids through all of those, being a principal at a very small school. And when I first related that to the people here, they said, would you please come down and tell your story? Because it's perfect for what this day is and what you all represent and are trying to do here. Promoting locally grown food, farmers markets, and better nutrition for kids through fresh fruits and vegetables in the schools. So thank you. I appreciate you having me here. I thought it was a neat story. I tell it when I can. But more importantly, it was good for the kids. Thank you.
I just want to acknowledge once again Senator Souls and thank him for his time, thank him for the stories, the words, and really thank him for his support. It's important that we acknowledge our elected officials when they take time out of their schedules to come and be with the community. So I would also like to introduce next Miss Marianne McCann from the School Nutrition Association. She's also the Taos School Food Service Director for the Taos Schools. So Miss McCann, maybe you'll come on up, you're the next contestant on the Bryce Track.
All of you for allowing the School Nutrition Association to participate in this great day. New Mexico School Nutrition Association has partnered with Farm School and the Mexico Food and Ag Policy Council for many years on this bill. This year's no exception. We're anticipating the passing of this bill. This bill will definitely help the school nutrition programs implement the new federal regulations which are requiring more fresh fruits and vegetables on the tray. And as a director of a school nutrition program, any additional money we can get only helps our bottom line. I'd like to thank Shauna Woodward and the Farm School because Shauna's been really she's been very beneficial in getting more directors involved and also identifying more farmers that are willing to sell to the schools. So that partnership has worked very effectively for school nutrition programs. We buy as our budgets allow, and we hope that we can continue that partnership of buying locally to support local growers, to support ag business, and to support our communities with healthier food. So thank you, Pam, and everybody, and we're going to work towards getting this bill through this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCann. And speaking on getting food and local food into the schools and supporting local farmers, I would like to introduce Margaret Campos, coordinator of the Rio Arriba Food Policy Council in Amino, as well as who is a local farmer getting food into our system.
Good morning. As John said, I am the coordinator for the Rio Arriba Food and Ag Policy Council, and I'm here to speak today primarily as the coordinator, but as a farmer and mainly as a mother. As a farmer, I want to tell you that I speak for a lot of farmers in this area, and we're trying to gear up for this. We're hoping to be able to, not hoping, we are growing right now and we are selling right now. Right now in my hoop house, I have lettuce, I have carrots, I have kale, I have lots of fresh fruits that are available for sale right now. So we're gearing up to be able to meet this demand, but I'm here to share a personal story happened to me a few years back when my kids were still small enough to fit in a grocery basket. I'm going through the produce section, and this was before we were growing in the winter months. And I'm moving my kids through the produce section, and my little girl says to me, she says, "Mom, don't forget the carrots." And my son says, "Oh yeah, we need broccoli, Mom." And this woman in the store pulls me aside, she says, "My goodness, what have you done to these children?" And I looked at him and I thought, well, I don't think I did anything wrong. I didn't know what she meant. And she says to me, "Did I hear correctly?" And I said, "Well, what did you hear?" Again, I'm wondering, gosh, I hope they didn't curse or something. And what she said to me was, "Did I hear them ask for carrots and broccoli?" And I said, "Oh, that, yeah." Well, they were probably about 5 and 7 at the time, and this is pretty unusual, I find, for other kids, that they don't like carrots and broccoli. The reason my kids like the carrots and broccoli and are forever the rest of the days of their life they will be eating vegetables is because they've been eating vegetables fresh from my farm from day one. I have a story to tell about my daughter. When my mother used to thin the carrots, she would sneak out behind her. And one day she comes in and I said, "Have you been eating the carrots?" And she says, "No." And I said, "Tell the truth." And when she smiled, she had grit between her teeth. Well, I'm going to tell you that my friend grower over here, Danny Farrar, eyed the carrots that he had from his farm just a couple of days ago. And I'm telling you, they're like sugar. They are so sweet. And the thing that you don't realize is that most of the food that everybody's become accustomed has no flavor. I'm so disappointed when I have to go to the grocery store. And I'm not surprised that most people's kids do not like vegetables because they haven't had the same opportunity that my kids have to eat fresh, locally grown produce. And I just want for all New Mexico children the same thing, the same opportunity that my children have been afforded. I want them to eat fresh and local because I want to tell you, taste matters. And you can't beat the taste that we can provide. So I really hope that you will support all of us, and thank you. Obviously you are supporting us because you're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Margaret. I think it's also just to quickly mention it's important to hear from the farmers. As important as it is to hear from advocates and elected officials, it's equally as important to hear from the farmers and producers, people that are actually working in the dirt. So I would also like to introduce Carson Miller, who is a young lady in the Santa Fe public school system who has been lucky enough to have the opportunity to talk to former President Bill Clinton about some of her ideas around food justice and food issues. So, Ms. Carson, whenever you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Carson Miller, and I'm a junior at Santa Fe High School. I served on the National Youth Advisory Board for the Alliance for a Healthier Generation for 3 years and currently serve as an alumni member, continuing to work to reduce childhood obesity and advocate for healthy, active lifestyles for kids and their families throughout New Mexico. In 4th grade, I was lucky enough to speak on behalf of the New Mexico Fresh Produce in Schools bill to show my support for getting more healthy foods into our schools. I've come back many years continuing to be an advocate for farm to school and watched as the number of schools participating has grown to 7. While it's been great watching schools slowly get developed over the years, the work is not yet done, and my time to see even more change happen in our school cafeterias is running out as I prepare to go to college. I encourage you to support Senate Bill 8 so that the farm to school program that seeks to put fresh New Mexico grown produce in all of our school meals can reach more kids and help change their lives. Today in the United States, childhood obesity leads the way as one of the nation's leading health threats, with 1 in every 3 kids being overweight or obese. In New Mexico, the statistics are even higher, and unfortunately, the likelihood of becoming obese and or developing diabetes is even greater for Hispanics and Native Americans. In addition to diabetes, obesity causes many additional health problems that can be life-threatening. Major factors in causing childhood obesity come from lack of nutritional food and not enough exercise. High rates of poverty and food insecurity in the state mean that schools, where you eat multiple meals, are often the sites for primary sources of nutrition. This makes it especially important to ensure that school meals have the best possible nutritional value and why it is critical to get healthy, fresh foods into New Mexico schools. Kids need the nutrients that are in fresh fruits and vegetables in order to be able to do their best in school. If kids are served healthy, fresh foods from young ages in their school meals, they will begin to see how great this food tastes and start to form lifelong habits for healthy eating. These are the reasons that I urge you to support Senate Bill 8 to bring farm fresh foods, especially New Mexico grown, into our school systems. If we don't take
Thank you, Carson, for a great student perspective, and thank you for your efforts in this project as well. At this time, I would like to introduce Aaron Marshall with the New Mexico Healthier Weight Council. Aaron?
Thank you. Welcome to Food and Farms Day 2013. My name is Aaron Marshall. I'm the Managing Director of the New Mexico Healthier Weight Council. This is a little unwieldy. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the intersections of health, wellness, nutrition, and childhood obesity. You've heard some of the bad news already. In New Mexico, 1 in 5 third graders is overweight or obese. Our American Indian children are faring even less well than 1 in 3 in third grade. And we spend over $300 million in obesity-related medical expenses in New Mexico each year. To us, this is unacceptable. The New Mexico Healthier Weight Council is dedicated. You can't hear me. The New Mexico Healthier Weight, is that better? Okay. Well, I won't repeat all the horrible statistics I just talked about. But the New Mexico Healthier Weight Council is dedicated to improving the health of all New Mexicans. Obesity is a very complex issue, and we have a lot of elements that go into fighting obesity. So one of the elements we look at is nutrition. And school nutrition is an ideal place to make those interventions early, long-lasting health hazards for children, establishing the palettes, as we've heard about with young children, getting New Mexico grown produce into our schools. That's what we're all about. And one of the things that we're looking at is Senate Bill 80. I'll hold this up. Senate Bill 80, which would need appropriation to provide schools with the funding to purchase locally grown New Mexico produce and get those into school meals. We strongly support this initiative. Also, House Bill 100, which is defining the New Mexico Farmers Market Promotion and Development. We strongly support these because we do have the need in New Mexico. We can make a difference. It's going to be a lot of different interventions working together, and we can't get ahead of this childhood obesity epidemic in New Mexico. We just need your support and the support of our legislators here to help us improve our school meals in New Mexico. Thank you.
I would like to introduce next somebody that some folks that I've kind of looked up to in the food movement that are doing some really great things through the Agricultura Network. But this particular person I'm going to introduce also works for the Food Charitable Foundation. His name is Henry Rael. So Henry, if you could come on up, you're also the next contestant on the Price is Right.
Good morning. We're here today because we have a common memory. It's a memory of a time that probably even before most of us were alive, and it's a time when people in New Mexico grew their own food and fed their own communities. You know, but a lot of people think that that's an old idea and it doesn't apply anymore. And there's new ideas about how we feed each other and how we take care of ourselves. But when you look at the outcomes of those new ideas and you look at the fact that New Mexico continues to struggle in terms of economic development, and it suffers from some of the biggest challenges in terms of nutritional health in the country, we have to ask ourselves that maybe that old way of doing things wasn't that bad. So it's important to understand that there's a lot of people in the state over the last several years, 10, 20 years, who have been working quietly with their heads down, focused on this issue of trying to bring back this concept of growing our own food in New Mexico, feeding our communities, and going forward like that. And they've made a lot of progress over the years, tons of progress. What's special about this year is that this year a lot of those people picked their heads up out of the dirt, where they've been focused on growing the food, focused on policy, focused on education, focused on health, and they looked around and really realized how many of us are really doing the same thing. This is a very special year because this year we got together and we're coordinated this year. Look at all of these tables out here. We're here to tell the legislature that this is serious. This is not about getting a little bit of money to do a little experiment. We have been working for a long time to create an industry, a new industry in New Mexico that is not only going to create economic opportunity, but it's going to transform people's health, and it's going to connect us to the land, and it's going to connect us to our culture. I don't care where you're from, we all have those roots. We all have those roots, and we're going to bring them back together. We came together as a group of organizations, and most importantly, as farmers, as people that are producing the food, to decide what were the priorities. What are the things that we need to ask for from the state? What do we need from the state to help us go to the next level? And that's what we're here today to support. The bills and the measures that are up here today have been chosen and are being backed by all of these people and by all of you, because this is what we need this year, right now. We need these funds. We have to make that clear to the folks in this building that we need this money so we can push ourselves to the next level. Do it.
Thank you, Henry. And at this time, we'd like to introduce Mr. Ruben Parga, who is a small business owner who got his start in the South Valley Economic Development Center in the Mixing Bowl, and we're going to hear his success story about local business and local food here in New Mexico. Mr. Ruben?
Good morning, folks. How are you doing? First of all, what a job Henry Rael did. I mean, that's awesome. Dynamic. That's good. Thank you. Again, my name is Ruben Parga. Can everyone hear me by chance? Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. I am actually a small business owner, and you can say as local as it gets. I actually grew up here in Santa Fe, graduated from Santa Fe High School, and then I graduated from the University of New Mexico. So I went to the corporate world, I guess you could say, for a bit. I also spent a little bit of time in the military, and then I decided to go ahead and pursue my dream to start a small business. So, doing a lot of research, I said, how can I be successful as a small business owner? All the research that I did on the network and things of that nature said that if you can network with a small business incubator, go ahead and ally yourself, because if you can ally your small business with the business incubator, the likelihood that you'll be successful post 5 years after launching is well over 87%. Well, actually, here in Albuquerque, the South Valley Economic Development Center, Tony is the actual CEO. Their number is greater than that. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's around 85 or 87% of the businesses that actually collaborate with the South Valley Economic Development Center, who is a business incubator, 5 years post-launch, they're successful about 87% of the time. So pictures worth 1,000 words. This is our actual product that we came to market, which is called Chispa Brillante. It means brilliant smart. Now, keeping it very local, my mom actually came up with the word chispa. My dad came up with the word brillante. We had that executive CEO meeting that took about 2 minutes to make the decision, and we named it Chispa Brillante. So that shows you the flexibility of a small business owner. Now, one of the nice things that I'd like to recognize while I'm up here is basically Delicious New Mexico. This is the commercial. There you go, listener, for Delicious New Mexico. Those of you who don't know Delicious New Mexico, this is basically the marketing arm of the small business, the Rio Grande Development Center, or the small business, the South Valley Economic Development Center. And this is critical to us as a small business, because you can have the greatest product, but if you don't have a strong marketing or a strong sales component tied into that, your dream might not come to fruition. So again, I just want to thank all of you for allowing us to come up here. I want to thank you for supporting House Bill 56, which is going to continue expanding the reach of the Rio Grande Development Economic Center, the South Valley Development Center, to help in rural communities. So I want to thank you at this point in time. Thank you, folks.
So I would like to introduce somebody who has really been a key part of this process. She's a tireless food worker, food advocate, food justice warrior. She's someone that I've really come to admire and look up to. She works at Farm to Table. She's the executive director. She's really been integral to this process, like I said. So can we get Pam Roy up to the mic?
We want to thank our senators and representatives and also the agencies who are with us. Agriculture, the Department of Health, Public Education Department, and Human Services. These are our partners in this work, and so it is a collective effort. And as Henry Rail and Margaret Campos and all of our speakers have talked to us about, this is about not only how we eat food and who we are a collective effort. We cannot segregate agriculture from who we are as consumers. So I really want to thank all of you here today, and I hope you will be with us throughout this process. We want to tell you we had 3 bills in the opening session of the House Agriculture Committee today, and all 3 of those bills passed. They're on your card. Yes, I know. It's really great. It's a good start for everybody. It's a strong start. And 20 years ago, we brought the bills of farmers markets to this hall, and nobody knew what a farmers market was. Back then, we had 18 farmers markets. Now we have 67 farmers markets, and they serve people of all classes, races. It's equity and it's justice in our communities. We now have school children, 234,000 school children ate New Mexico-grown fresh fruits and vegetables this last season. 53 school districts across the state in some of our most rural communities, as well as our most populated communities. And so it's a collective effort. We really appreciate you all being here today. This incubator bill passed this morning as well as the Farmers Market bill. And the New Mexico Acequia Association, those who have been working with great effort over many years to work on water issues in New Mexico, and their bill just passed the House Agriculture Committee as well. And so with us, Paula has been working these halls as well for the last 20 years. She's a commissioner in Mora County. She's working on infrastructure issues as well. And I want to say congratulations, Paula. You got your bill passed, and we're all here together today.
Good morning, buenos días a todos. It's such an honor to be able to speak today on the first annual Food and Farm Day. Let's give Pam and the whole team a big round of applause for all their work. Thank you to each and every one of you for making the trip to Santa Fe. I hope you found parking, because I know this is a rough time. But it's great to see so many people here supporting our farms, supporting our food, and ultimately also protecting our land and water. Because our land and water are the foundation of how we're going to grow our food now and in the future for all future generations. So thank you each and every one of you for being here. What you're doing is sustaining tradition, feeding our families, keeping our land and water under cultivation, and we need your efforts. Each and every one of you, either growing food, working at a farmer's market, producing food, processing food, all of these things are vital to our families and to our communities. Thank you so much for all your effort. We just had a very successful hearing at the House Ag Committee, and it's great to be part of this legislative process and to see this growing movement for food and farms. Thank you to all of you. I pray the hope that our legislators and our leaders are to see that we and our communities are connecting the dots between healthy children, healthy families, healthy land and water. And I would ask all of you that we all work in solidarity as we, the farmers, as the growers, the irrigators, support locally grown food, that we can also support
And at this time, we'd like to say thank you very much for coming to the press conference. Please support local food, local agriculture, and our water rights.